What's up everybody, and welcome to the channel. In today's video we're going to take a look at the all-new 2023 Nissan Ariya. This particular spec is the Empower Plus front-wheel drive finished in deep ocean blue. MSRP base price is around $53,000. This one, as tested, is around $59,000. So let's get right into Nissan's newest EV crossover. Now, as far as powertrains go, for the new 2023 Nissan Ariya, there's actually 4 different power plants that you can get. The Empower Plus is going to feature a 178 kilowatt hour motor along with an 87 kilowatt hour battery system. It pumps out 238 horsepower with 221 pound-feet of torque. This particular vehicle is front-wheel drive, single-speed transmission, of course. Overall curb weight is 4,600 pounds, and the max cruising range is going to be roughly 289 miles. Overall length is 182.9 inches, with wheelbase at 109.3. Height is 65.4, and width is 85.5 inches. Ground clearance is also around 7.1 inches. And now moving on to the exterior styling with the all-new Nissan Ariya. This is a pretty cool looking crossover, to be quite honest. You're going to see these massive LED headlights finished off with a blacked out housing. They're sunken into the bodywork very nicely, and of course you can see that amber turn signal along with the white LED DRL. In the center, the Nissan badge is also going to light up. Might be hard to see in the daylight, but that is a cool touch to see right there. You can also see this really neat texture behind the smooth plastic material for the front portion of the front bumper. You can also see gloss black above the Nissan badge, and then down below there's a ton of gloss black trim. We get LED fog lights down below. You can see parking sensors, and then a nice trim piece that has a functional air inlet to guide air around those front wheels. You also get more parking sensors in the center, and then a cooling area to allow some cooling and airflow into the electronics. Very sleek looking front end. I just love how everything blends together so well. And then the hood panel itself has 2 sharp body lines, one on each side fading towards that windshield. Overall, it's a pretty neat looking crossover, especially with the blacked out design. You can see all that black trim fading towards the side profile. This particular spec gets the upgraded 19-inch wheels finished off in more gloss black. They have a very cool 5-spoke design. Then you can see the gloss black surrounding these fender flares. We have the charge port up in front, and these fender flares actually stick out just a little bit to give it some pretty cool width. There's more gloss black trim for the entire side skirt, and it cuts down underneath the fender in back. Very sculpted side profile with just super clean lines, and then one prominent body line cutting towards the whole side. We do have body colored side door handles along with gloss black power folding side mirrors, and then all gloss black trim surrounding the windows. There's a nice brushed aluminum trim piece going all the way down towards the rear, and then this one has the 2-tone design with the black roof. You're also going to get a panoramic roof up top, and then moving towards the side profile, I really like the proportions. It's kind of short and stubby, which gives it a pretty sporty vibe to it, and I think all the lines really flow. I'm super impressed with this car in person. Actually looks really cool. You can see the rear spoiler integrated into that roof line, which dips down quite a lot on this rear piece of glass. Definitely gives it a sportier look in the rear. Moving on to the LED taillights, I love how you get Nissan written out and the LED bar connects the left and right side. Once again, very smooth with the bodywork with a blacked out housing and all of the red, of course, lighting up. You can see the Empower Plus badge along with Ariya on the far left side, and then a massive gloss black rear diffuser. All of your parking sensors are integrated into it, and it has pretty cool contours. And just like the rest of the design, you can see just how nice all the lines connect to each other to make this just look like a modern, sleek looking crossover. Moving on to the key fob, we have of course lock, unlock, the remote liftgate, and a panic button, along with just Nissan on the upper portion. Keeping the key fob in your pocket, it'll automatically lock and unlock depending on how close you are to the vehicle. And then now we can take a look at this beige interior. Very nice materials inside. You're gonna see some wood trim along with some bronze accents. And then if we take a look at the door panel, you can see that light color material, a release handle with memory seating, all of the window controls and mirror controls with lock and unlock, grab handle, and then some pretty good padding on the armrest. Tons of storage down below. Ariya is written out on the door sill, and then all of your power controls along with lumbar support are on the side of the seat. You can see this smooth synthetic leather material for the bolsters, and then a nice micro suede material throughout the centers. It looks really cool in here. Nice stitching design as well. And then we get a 2-spoke black leather steering wheel with a stripe down below and bronze stitching. And then now inside the Ariya, keeping my foot on the brake, we can go ahead and fire it up. All the electronics are going to turn on. Very neat animation throughout the center screens. And then if we take a look at the full LCD gauge cluster, you can see your power percentage up on the top left along with range, and then it is all configurable. You have the buttons on the left side. You can toggle this icon, change the view as well, to get to a more traditional layout. And then I can scroll up and down to see a few things within safety systems. Scrolling left and right, we can see all of your audio information, navigation. We have more things for tire pressure, things like that within the vehicle. You can also see your battery and then the capacity and things like that. Continuing over, you have energy use and then your standard screen in the center. And then of course going back into this screen, you can see everything in a little bit larger full screen design, digital speedometer readout, and then scrolling left and right, all those same informations are going to come up throughout the screen. If we take a look at the steering wheel now, we get that Nissan badge in the center, all of your cruise control settings on the right side, along with the forward pacing and some Bluetooth controls. We have volume up on top, along with change track. And then on the left stalk, you're going to see all of your headlight controls and then windshield wipers on the right. To the left of the steering wheel, we have the headlight control down there, along with the steering intervention, heads-up display, brake hold, and liftgate. Then this cool plastic material that looks like wood trim, more of this bronze accent and that light color. Of course, heads-up display right in the center, and then that massive curved LCD gauge cluster. We get more of this material coming across the dashboard, and I like the bronze trim for all the air vents. There is a next track icon right here. You toggle this up or down to change the tracks, which is a pretty neat way to do that. Hazards right there with power and volume. And then the center screen is basically what you're going to be used to in other Nissans. So of course, touchscreen. We have this back icon as well. We can toggle along the left side of the screen, see notifications, your home menu, which you can configure all these different things that are going to pop up. You have the charge points right here that'll come up with all the different stations. We have apps along with weather and more things. Energy use is going to come up as well. Driving range will kind of give you an idea of where you can drive. So a lot of information in this car for sure. Of course, full screen nav, all of your audio, the phone integration, and then going into this bottom one for climate controls. So very easily I can toggle the temperature, heated seats, all of your zones and fan speed, and all the buttons are actually listed right here. So once again, pretty neat. It's like a fake wood trim, it's plastic, and when you just press it and give it a little bit of pressure, you can see how it's going to adjust everything. And then fan speed, same thing. You can easily toggle that. Pretty neat to get used to that. You can also see more of the air vents, electronic parking brake, and then right in the center, you're gonna notice there's no console down here to really give you a ton of legroom. However, there's a button right here. If you press one of them and hold it, it's gonna automatically come down, give you a nice little workstation, and then you can open this up and there's a ton of storage space all inside. So pretty neat design. And then if we just go ahead and hold that button, it's gonna close out of the way. Now this whole center console is also gonna move. We have a toggle you can press, go all the way forward depending on your own height, where you want your armrests, and it'll go all the way back almost into the back seats. We also have our drive select right here with all of your different gears, 2 different cup holders, nice thing to close it. Then we have our drive mode select. Once again, you toggle this button and it'll come up with your 3 different drive modes. We also have the auto park, and then right here, this is for the 1-pedal driving, where it'll automatically regenerate some electricity when you're off the gas pedal. The armrest has some nice padding, along with a little bit of storage in here with a wireless phone charging pad, and then a glove box over here, which is a pretty typical size. One last look at the interior. Pretty nice to be in here, quite honestly. You have all the tech, pretty modern design, especially with those neat buttons, and a pretty good use of materials. You're gonna see a massive panoramic sunroof, and you can just toggle this icon. It'll open up that shade as well as pop open that glass. So pretty nice to see all that in this car. And of course we can pull that all the way back for all the light in the interior. You can also see all of your LED dome light buttons. Pressing this, we get a sunglass holder, and then the rear view mirror has a camera with an LCD screen. Of course we have a traditional mirror, but then toggling that, you can see a nice view of what's behind you. Moving on to the rear seat space, if I grab the door handle, open it up, you're going to see a very similar door panel back here with the same colors, and then this can seat 3 people. You have the smooth synthetic leather with some of that micro suede material, and then right in the center, if we pull this one down, you're going to see an armrest with 2 cup holders, And then in the center console, we have heated seats, different USB ports, as well as climate vents. And once again, that button can pull this whole piece back, which is kind of neat. Then we have a cool fabric-y plastic material behind the seats with storage behind them all. And then you can grab the handle behind the seats and fold these nice and flat for better cargo area and access point into the trunk. All right, sitting in the back seat of the Nissan Ariya. So this is actually, once again, kind of a roomy crossover to be in. I'm 5'11". I have a couple inches of headroom. Armrest is in a good place, and you have a pretty large window. Now these seats do recline with that same lever back here, so you can pull this into a few different positions, just a couple inches. But with them fully reclined, actually, it's decently comfortable. The bases are a little stiff. I wouldn't say the most padded. However, the seat is high enough to where your legs aren't in your chest or anything. And of course, with the center armrest, it seems like a pretty decent rear seat space to be pretty much comfortable in. Moving on to the cargo area, you can grab the electronic button underneath the Nissan name. It's gonna automatically pop open that rear liftgate. In back, we have quite a lot of storage space, and it's nice and flat with the load floor. There's a little cubby on the left side along with the right side, and you can pull up the floor itself and it reveals even more hidden storage space. You can open up both of these or completely remove them just to really add to how much space is going to be in here. And then with all the seats folded down and the privacy cover removed, you can see just how much more storage you're going to get in this Ariya. If we go through it, through these side doors, you can see how the seats are going to fold down, still giving you plenty of space up in front, and it really makes this a pretty practical crossover. All right, so we are setting off now in the Nissan Ariya. In normal mode, just giving it some throttle, gets up to speed pretty decently. And then of course, if we toggle up into sport mode, a little bit more power. Like I mentioned, this isn't the most powerful version. You can get the top of the line one with all-wheel drive, which honestly really isn't much different in price. Pretty much can get it for low 60s versus this one being high 50s. But as far as normal driving, we'll just toggle it down a little bit back into eco mode. It's a pretty comfortable place to be. You have a huge windshield, really good visibility, mirrors all do a great job, and of course having the camera mirror in the center there, that is a really nice touch. Over your right and left shoulder, pretty good view, really no crazy blind spots. I'd say way in the back, that is a big large piece of plastic where the D pillar I guess would be, so a little bulky back there, but really nothing too crazy. Now the E step, when you toggle this on and off, when you're not using it, you know, the braking, when you let off the throttle, you can coast pretty well. I will say, it seems like the brake pedal press is pretty vague. You have to press your foot maybe halfway down for it to start doing something. And that almost looked like an Ariya. I think that was a Nissan Leaf or something. Anyway, the brake pedal feels a little vague, I would say, so I wouldn't mind that being better. But when you go into the E step now, whenever I do hit the brake, it does feel a little bit better. But braking, I don't know, it could be a little bit more performance focused, I guess, just a little bit more touchy. In sport mode, doesn't really make any sort of difference. But as far as normal driving goes, you know, the seats, they're pretty nice and comfortable. Armrests are in a great place in the center. The left one I do feel is a little low for me, and I have the seat as low as it goes. So my arm is kind of like weighted down to be on the armrest. So again, I wouldn't mind that being a little different. But aside from those kind of minor nitpicky things, it seems pretty comfortable. It does take some getting used to these buttons right here. It's basically you're just pressing on the hard plastic. So it's kind of weird on your finger joints to press that because it doesn't really press in like a standard button. So it just takes a little bit getting used to having to hold down on something that doesn't really have much give in order for it to operate. So that's definitely gonna be something to get used to. It does look pretty cool though. I think it's a nice way to really clean up the interior to where there's really like no buttons on the interior. So the interior is pretty simple to use. It really doesn't take a learning curve or anything like that. I think the things you touch are nice enough. You know, it's got some cool materials to it. And the ride quality feels really nice as well. Of course, with the cruise control, this is their new system. It seems to be a lot better than the previous one. And when you're on a road with better lanes, of course, it'll do the steering intervention and everything. And it seems to be much more connected than the previous generation system. So I like the cruise control, you know, the adaptive pacing and everything works well. Lane keeping and steering intervention keeps you in the lane without just like hitting the brakes whenever you hit a line, which kind of is annoying on the previous generation stuff. So it seems like it has all the technology you're gonna want and a really good riding platform to where you're kind of in comfort in here. You can get the seat in a good position and it just feels like a good place to be. It doesn't feel like it's too overpriced or anything. You know, when you look at EVs, a crossover like this for almost 60 grand, this is kind of what they go for. And this one's very nicely equipped. So it feels like a car that, you know, it's the price I would expect it to be. And even though this isn't the most powerful version, You know, it could have more power. I mean, still, that was 40 to 65 pretty darn quickly. So it still is a really good powertrain for the average driver, and I like how there are several to choose from to really get one that's crazy fast, or get one that is adequate and just pretty good on range and pretty normal to drive. All right, so my honest thoughts with the Ariya, full throttle, definitely not the fastest EV out there. And when you look at the pricing of the Ariyas, I was actually kind of shocked to see that the all-wheel drive one with well over 400 horsepower and torque, you know, it's not really all too much different in price. This one, the wheels are a $2,000 option, and then it's really just some LED lighting options and stuff on it to get this one to $59,000. So quite frankly, I would get the more powerful version with just your basic options, and it would be just as equipped as this, maybe honestly the same kind of wheels, honestly, and have a lot more power. So I feel like they're all priced very similar to where you might as well just get a fully loaded top of the line one, I think, just because. And I think the biggest competitors with this are going to be the Kia EV6 along with the Mustang Mach-E, particularly the GT, honestly. I've driven them, and about $60,000 you can get the GTs on both of those cars, which are very, very powerful. So I think the Ariya, the top of the line one with the most power, kind of on par with them, and it seems like this is a pretty solid option. I'm not the biggest EV fan, quite honestly. However, the Kia and the Ford have stood out to be just really nice products. This Nissan, I honestly kind of put it up there with them. This feels like just a normal vehicle to drive. The infotainment and everything is kind of what you would expect. There's not like a learning curve. Like I mentioned, it's just kind of simple, and you really do get some nice technology and information on it. It's easy to use, a lot of good stuff on it, and it looks really cool. Like the gauge cluster right now, having my power, the range, and speed, that's all I need, and it's right there. So it's a simple design, it looks cool, and it kind of gives you everything you need. These buttons definitely are going to take some getting used to. I'm not the biggest fan just because you really have to press your finger hard on them. Actually, you don't have to press them as hard as I thought. Maybe I'm just pressing them too hard. So you don't have to press them too hard, which actually is a lot better then. But kind of neat to see those. And then, okay, yeah, you don't have to press them as hard as I thought. It takes some getting used to. So a little learning curve on pressing buttons that are flush with the panel. Okay, that's not too bad. So that's pretty neat. Only downfall I would say is going to be the charging time. It seems like on the window sticker it says 14-hour charge time, so I would assume that's, and that was a 240 volt I believe, so the fast charging. So it takes a little bit to charge, and even when talking with the guys who delivered this car, I think it took them over an hour for 20 to 80%. The other cars are going to do that in 20 to 30 minutes. So charging, they might need to work on that a little bit, which if you are really going to be using this a lot, that's going to be a major inconvenience. Obviously, there's already an inconvenience with charging a car anyways. If you're just using this 200 miles at a time, you know, charging it overnight, you're not going to notice it, no big deal. But if you do plan on doing a trip with it, if the charging time is twice the other ones, that is something that's going to be needed to take into consideration, and something Nissan's going to have to ramp up to make this as practical as the rest of them. So that is it for the all-new Nissan Ariya, the Empower Plus. Pretty neat design, and even being front-wheel drive, since it's not that powerful, there's no torque steer or anything like that. So this power plant, not bad for the typical buyer. I would go more power in all-wheel drive just to get it, but that's just me. Anyways, hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, give it a thumbs up, hit that subscribe button, stay tuned for plenty more content, and I'll see you all in the next video.